Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Hey there, welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, where we're expanding the natural family planning conversation. I'm your host, Ellen Holloway. All right, we are here with Kristen Jensen. I'm super excited to talk about healthy nutrition for our cycles today in this episode. And so before we get started, Kristen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, so my name is Kristen Jensen. I have my own private practice called Nourished for Life, which is a virtual private practice focusing on women's health and nutrition. So fertility, cycle health, hormone health, all that good stuff. I started it about a year and a half ago now because I really just had a lot of friends and acquaintances even that were asking me questions about nutrition for getting pregnant or being pregnant or postpartum or having healthier cycles, lessening PMS, all that good stuff. So I started looking into it and saw there was this whole world that was not being tapped into and offered to women. And yeah, just kind of jumped in head first, opened my private practice. And now that's what I do every day. And I love it. I love working with all different types of women, helping them reach their goals. I love seeing, cycles not be as painful and miserable, and then being more regular. We can know when they're coming and how long they're going to last, and seeing women get pregnant and have healthy pregnancies. And it's just so much joy. So,
that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. And I totally agree. I think this is an area of women's health that is definitely underserved. So I love that you have jumped right into this spot, because I think a lot of times in our mainstream culture, we talk about healthy nutrition just kind of across the board. But what is truly underserved in women's health everywhere, not just nutrition, is the recognition of the fertility cycle.
Yes. Yes.
We just don't even want to recognize that it exists.
Right. Absolutely.
So I'm so glad that you are specifically serving this area, and I love it. So we're going to be talking about healthy nutrition for cycles today. But before we jump into kind of the what of that nutrition, I want to talk about the why first. So why is it important for us to be aware of our nutrition throughout our cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, what I always like to tell women as well is that having a just good basis of foundation for nutrition throughout your cycle, or if you aren't cycling or not sure what points of your cycle you may be at any specific time, it's always important just to have a good baseline, strong nutrition for foundation to help our cycles be the best that they can be as least painful, most regular, most ready for fertility, all of those good things that our cycles were meant to be, and the beauty of them, and really, kind of embrace the good health indicator that they are meant to be for our bodies. So just having a good foundation is really important, getting lots of good healthy fats to help support our hormone levels, getting enough protein to keep us satiated, those good variety of carbs so that we're getting all those different vitamins and minerals. All of that is super important, regardless of what phase of our cycle we may be in. But if we want to take it a next step further and delve even deeper into it, when we know what phase of our cycle we're in, we know what's going on, we can better support our body in what it's doing and make each of those cycles pair up with the correct nutrition and further enhance each of those cycles to their maximum health ability in kind of choppier words.
No, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I think that is so important, right? Our society gets it right that we need to be healthy, across the board.
Right.
But I love that, we can then take it one step further and we can kind of just maximize those different phases of our cycle to, to really what our body is telling us that we
Mhm.
need at that time. And I know you're going to get into this, but but I love that, so start with that good nutrition across the board, and then you can start to kind of dive in. Okay. So now for the what.
Yeah.
So what kinds of foods, what kinds of, I don't even know if that's the right question, what kinds of foods, right?
Yeah.
What should we be choosing at each point in our cycle to maximize our health and wellness, and how our bodies are feeling?
Yeah. So we'll just take it through each of the four phases of our cycle and highlight what the big things going on are and what we can do to support our body in that.
Perfect.
So let's just jump in with the menstrual phase or the bleeding phase, what we think of as like our quote unquote period. And I really like to focus in that week or phase, however long that might be for you, on replacing what we're losing. So we're bleeding actively. And for some women, that might be heavier than others. But regardless, we're losing a lot of vitamins and minerals in our blood. And we're just losing blood volume. So I really like to focus on iron, zinc, and our B vitamins. And those are going to be found in things like red meat, lentils, bone broth. And then for fish options, salmon and sardines are really great sources of those. And then alongside that, we have a lot of inflammation going on when we are actively shedding our uterine lining during this phase. So we want to support our anti-inflammatory work that our body is doing. And the best ways that I like to get those in are by increasing our intake of berries and our dark leafy greens.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish I was taking notes right now, but luckily this is recorded. So I'm just going to go back.
Exactly. Yes.
That's the beauty of a recorded podcast. That was awesome. That was so clear.
Good. I have a handout too. I don't know if you'll ever send those out or if you have those on anything, but I can always send that for you to share on your social media platform so people can see it and have a way to remember it too.
Oh, fabulous. That would be awesome. Yeah. And if you have any links, we'll put those in the show notes for people to follow up with.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Should we jump into our pre-ovulatory phase then?
Yeah.
Okay. So this phase, this is when we're, getting ready to ovulate, our body's gearing up to release that egg. And we really want to focus on supporting our estrogen and testosterone levels because those are both going to be rising during this phase. So it's really important that we are consuming enough healthy fats. And those are found in things like avocado and avocado oil, olives and olive oil, even grass-fed butter, full-fat dairy can be a great source. Especially if it's grass-fed, it's going to be higher in those omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory. So that 2-for-1. Nuts and seeds, those are all really great options during this phase of our cycle, as well as complex carbs. A lot of women think that carbs are the enemy. We're kind of told that in our culture, but actually we need a good amount of carbs to support our thyroid health, which is vital for our hormone health and just our overall health and energy. So things like potatoes and sweet potatoes, are more starchy squash. So like butternut squash, spaghetti squash, acorn squash, those are really great, as well as whole grains, oatmeal and lentils and beans give us a lot of great complex carbs as well. And then we can actually start supporting, well, all through the cycle, it's great, but it's really great to focus on supporting that microbiome during this time. And that is the bacteria that makes up our intestinal or gut lining. So those are things like kefir, fermented dairy, kimchi, which is kind of like a spicy sauerkraut or cabbage.
Oh, I love kimchi.
Yeah, me too. Sauerkraut too is just a great one overall. Yogurt, and of course, taking a high quality probiotic can be great too. But overall, supporting our microbiome is really important so that we are able to both have healthy levels of estrogen, but the microbiome is also really important for helping to break down excess estrogen and get it out of the body, get it through the liver, and help you to get rid of it when you have a bowel movement, which is also really important. It's that Goldilocks dilemma. We want enough, but we don't want too much. So that helps us to find that balance.
Oh my gosh, this is fascinating. I am just like soaking this all in. I am so fascinated. I'm learning so much. this morning.
Good. I know. It's so, when you really dive into it, there's just so much beauty and wisdom in the human body. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. Oh my gosh. Anything else on that pre-ovulatory phase?
Those are the big things. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
All right, let's jump over.
all right. So now we are at kind of literally the peak of our cycle, that ovulatory phase. We are peaking on that LH, that luteinizing hormone, and that's going to signal to our body to release the egg so that it can then either be fertilized and pregnancy can occur and a new baby starts growing, or if that doesn't happen, then it'll continue out with the rest of the cycle and get ready for a new cycle. So during this time, like I had alluded to in the pre-ovulatory phase, this time we really, really want to keep focusing on helping the liver, supporting that organ in breaking down that excess estrogen. So we have that estrogen rise, and now we want to be sure the liver is all fueled up, ready to go, ready to break down that excess estrogen. Because if we have too much estrogen floating around in our system, not only can it cause or worsen those pesky PMS symptoms that we start to feel, but for some women, over time, having excess estrogen can increase their chances for things like female reproductive cancers, breast cancer, also just increase or worsen existing conditions like endometriosis. So we want to be sure that we're helping support that liver to get rid of the excess estrogen. And to do this, we really want to focus on things that help with bowel movements. So cruciferous veggies, things that are nice and full of fiber like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage. Not only do they have that fiber component that's going to help to literally bind to the excess estrogen and help it physically get out of our body, but it also has a component in it called DIM, which some of your listeners might be familiar with. It's also found in a supplement form that sometimes is encouraged for women with PCOS, excess estrogen, bad PMS, endometriosis, but it's naturally found in cruciferous vegetables. So that can be a great way to get in that DIM, and the DIM is going to be a great mediator in the liver to help go through and break down that excess estrogen so we can get rid of it.
Wow, that's
and then
fascinating.
Yeah, there's so much going on. There's so much. At the same time, too, we want to support progesterone. Not only is progesterone important for a not pregnant or trying to get pregnant woman to be healthy overall, it does a lot in our body to help with a sense of calm and relaxation and mood. But also, if we are to get pregnant, we need that progesterone to support that pregnancy. Its name means pro-gestation. So we want to be sure we're getting enough progesterone. And the way we do that is actually to eat foods that have cholesterol. And that might seem very counterintuitive to the no fat, no cholesterol kind of phase that we can sometimes hear. But the interesting thing is that progesterone, the building blocks of this hormone, is cholesterol. And so if we aren't taking in enough dietary cholesterol, we aren't going to be able to make enough progesterone. The other side of it is that cortisol, our stress hormone, is also made from cholesterol, which it gets the upper hand. So if we are having high stress levels, whether that's physical stress from an illness, from lack of sleep, from any type of chronic condition going on, from over-exercising or under-exercising, or if it's just psychological stress from work or relationships, whatever that might be, and we only have a set amount of cholesterol in our body, it's going to go to cortisol. So cortisol is going to steal that away, and then there's nothing left for progesterone. And then we have low progesterone levels. We aren't able to support a pregnancy, or we just feel crappy because we don't have good enough progesterone levels.
You are blowing my mind right now, because I have heard, and I think a lot of our listeners may have heard this as well, is that you should, when you're pregnant, you should try to limit your stress. And I heard that and I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And I just took that at face value. I was like, okay, I'll try to limit my stress,
Yeah.
But this makes so much sense why you need to limit your stress, because that cortisol is going to take all the cholesterol that you have. And if you don't have enough in reserve then for the rest of the systems that need the cholesterol, the
Yes,
progesterone, then that actually will affect the baby and harm the baby. So, oh my
exactly.
gosh, you are blowing my mind.
Yes. Yes. And so with that, the food things that we can focus on are eggs with the yolk for sure. The yolk is where we get all that good cholesterol, those healthy fats, and it's also where the main bulk of those vitamins like vitamin A and D are found. So we want to be sure we're eating the whole egg as nature intended. And then meat and meat with fat on it. That's okay if you're having, a steak or a roast that has some marbling in it with the fat, or 80-20 ground beef instead of 95-5 or whatever that might be. Meat that has some fat, chicken with the skin on, is going to help us get not only a more well-rounded food item in our meal because it has the fat that is nice and satiating, and the fat that's going to help with all of those fat soluble vitamins get actually absorbed and utilized in the body, but it's also going to give us that good source of cholesterol to support those progesterone levels.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It is. It is. Nature, the body, the way God intended for things to work, it's just awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, wow. I seriously, okay. Keep going. Keep going.
All right. Yeah, we will finish it out with our luteal phase, which most people are going to think of as our PMS phase if this cycle we did not get pregnant. So this is when people probably feel their crummiest. This is when we start to feel more tired, more irritable. We might start getting headaches or even those cramps and backaches. It might be really hard to do normal things like go for walks or go to the gym. We like to be active and to do social events because we just feel irritable and tired. And even skin changes are really common during this time, more acne, more oily skin, things like that. So what we really, really want to focus on during this time is actually keeping our blood sugar steady. The biggest thing that we can do that we have control over on a day-to-day meal and snack basis is to keep that blood sugar steady, because that's going to really help to minimize those cravings that can feel out of control during this time and help with our fatigue and headaches and things like that. Those are also going to be affected by our blood sugar. And so with that, we really just want to focus on having a balanced diet. It's nothing crazy. We don't have to count carbs or anything like that. We just want to be sure that we're not having carbohydrates all by themselves, and or not having carbohydrates be the majority of a meal or snack. So ways you can do this is making sure that every meal and snack has some source of protein in it. And if we get a source of fat, even better along with that. Protein is going to help with that satiation. It's going to keep the blood sugar nice and steady. And then it's also just going to help refuel muscles so that if we are able to stay active during this time, we're keeping our muscles nice and fueled as well. And I really like to focus on red meat, again, to give us that good iron and zinc hit. So when we go into the next phase and start bleeding again, we're already kind of stocked up on those vitamins. And then also turkey, which a lot of people don't think about eating turkey anytime outside of Thanksgiving, but turkey and the tryptophan that it has is a great source of serotonin, which can help. It's one of our neurotransmitters in our brain. And so it really helps with overall mood and just staying nice and steady and not having those mood swings that I think can be really frustrating for women during this time.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't really eat turkey outside of Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
No.
I do like a turkey sandwich. Like,
yes,
I like, but I don't know. There's something about ground turkey that I'm just not a fan of. Like, I just don't like the taste. I don't know what it is.
I just can't substitute out ground beef. And maybe that's growing up on a farm.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, can't do it. It's like there's supposed to be a different taste in this spaghetti sauce. I don't know what that is.
Like people are like, oh yeah, here's like turkey chili. And I'm like, this doesn't taste like chili.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man.
Deli turkey, I can get behind that. We can add that in. Yeah.
It's probably because I can put like a bunch of mustard on it.
Yeah.
And like that like masks the taste of turkey.
Yeah.
I love mustard. I'll put mustard on everything. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow, that was a wealth of knowledge. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an episode that I personally am going to like go back to, because like right now I'm in
Good.
a period of time, I'm postpartum, so I am not
Okay.
cycling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm totally going to re-listen to this episode once I start
Yes.
cycling again, so I can just kind of put these things back into my mind of um what to focus on during different times. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, so my last question that I have for you is, what would maybe be different or additional for someone who's wanting to really maximize their fertility potential and is trying to conceive?
Yeah. Great question. So overall, all of these things, like I said in the beginning, are going to build a great foundation. Red meat, salmon, fruits and veggies, nuts and seeds. Those are great all the time, no matter what. Also great, for the husband, for the kids, everything. So foods that are good at one time are going to be good all the time. But some things that we can focus on for fertility, just in general, and this is definitely a generalized statement because I know every woman and couple out there might have a different struggle. We might have more need for anti-inflammatory foods than others. Some women might be could benefit from having a change in weight, whether that's underweight or overweight. That can impact things as well too. Exercise, sleep, stress, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much that every woman specifically could get into a lot more personally for them and for them as a couple. But overall, I really like to focus on getting more anti-inflammatory foods. So it's always great. We want our body to be in a low state of stress, and inflammation in the body signals stress. And what does our body not want to do when we're stressed out? Have a baby.
Get pregnant. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's evidenced by, when you're really stressed, your cycle gets longer because your ovulation is delayed.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Or you might not even have a cycle for a few months. And
yeah,
yes, exactly. So keeping up on those things, those berries, those dark leafy greens, but also those high omega seafood options. So salmon, shrimp, sardines, whatever kind of fish and seafood you like and have access to are great things to add in if you can. And then eggs. I always say eat eggs for eggs. We want those good, just well-rounded food that eggs provide us with all of the nutrients, the cholesterol, like we talked about for progesterone, and those healthy fats. We really, really want to be focusing on getting in those, even 2 to 3 a day, which might sound crazy, but it's great. And it gets us in a good habit of eating those because eggs are pretty much the only good source of the nutrient choline we have in food sources. And choline is so vitally important for baby's brain development. So if we can stock up on our choline stores pre-pregnancy, it's going to set our baby up for more success as it grows within us and develops that brain. So kind of a 2-for-1 deal on the eggs there.
Oh my gosh. That's funny about eggs. I have a funny story. My mother-in-law is not like a huge fan of eggs, but she was told by her doctor when she was pregnant, this was years and years ago, obviously. But that her doctor said, you need to eat 2 eggs a day and like, think of it as a pill, like think of it as your prenatal vitamins. Like you eat 2 eggs a day. And like, she was,
love it.
She was hating it because she doesn't like eggs that much. But I love that like thought process of like, think of it as like your prenatal vitamin. Like eggs are that important.
Yes, they really are. Yes.
Oh, I love that. Anything else about, pregnancy or preconception nutrition in general?
One, I would say not a food, but a liquid would be just making sure we're well hydrated. Everything in our body works better when it's hydrated, of course. But also to get pregnant, we need a way for the egg and sperm to meet. And our cervical mucus is the way that happens. And to have good cervical mucus, we need to be well hydrated to produce enough and good quality and at the right time and all of that. So that would be just one other thing to be thinking about, is really staying on top of hydration. And then also not food related, but I think it's really important to mention, since we alluded to it earlier with the stress piece, as best as we can to control those stress levels, especially that week before ovulation or that pre-ovulatory phase. It can be really, really beneficial for women trying to conceive. And even thinking about the way that we are living our day to day and what we're consuming, especially during that time. Are we having loads of caffeine? Are we having loads of alcohol? Are we skipping meals? Those can all be sources of stressors on the body. So maybe during that week as well, if you're trying to get pregnant and really make that ovulatory phase count, would be pulling back a little bit on caffeine, keeping it under that 150 to 200 milligrams per day amount, pulling back on alcohol, maybe just a couple of drinks per week, and then making sure we're eating at regular intervals so our body doesn't perceive anything as excessive fasting, stress on the body, things like that.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's so great. I love everything you have said. You are such a wealth of knowledge, Kristen. This is amazing. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to add in before we close out?
All I would say is that your body was made perfectly well. Your body knows what to do. It wants to be healthy. And sometimes we just need a little bit of help and guidance to get it there. So if you're struggling with delayed fertility, I hate the word infertility, because if we still have those body parts, we are not infertile. There is a way. But if you're struggling with delayed fertility, painful PMS, maybe not even cycling or extremely heavy cycles, whatever it may be, I just would really encourage you not to be upset with your body, blame your body, but just see it as an opportunity to grow in knowledge and love of your body, and that with the right work and guidance and direction, your body can get to a place where it's just doing all it's supposed to be doing and working at its maximum potential.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Kristen, for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for listening. Kristen generously offered 20% off of any of her courses that she has on her website to listeners of this podcast. The promo code is podcast20, and that'll also be over in the show notes, as well as a link over to her website. As always, if you aren't following us on Instagram, be sure to follow us at Charting Toward Intimacy. And I love hearing from you guys, so feel free to reach out on Instagram or send me an email. Links to those are in the show notes. Until next time.